On February 21st, 2020, I boarded a bus from Cape Cod, Massachusetts for Boston's Logan Airport, where I would fly on to Guayaquil, Ecuador. Guayaquil is situated on the coast of central Ecuador and is the country's largest city. At 9 p.m., I checked in at the Grand Hotel Guayaquil, where in 20 hours I would meet up with Glenn Bartley, the leader of our 10-day quest for southern Ecuador's special birds. During the next day, I relaxed in the hotel as the outside temperature was in the 90s. In retrospect, my decision not to mix with the city residents was a very fortunate one. At this date, in late February, no one had yet recognized that COVID-19 carriers and spreaders were prevalent on the city's streets. On February 22nd, we boarded our touring bus for a 3-hour drive to Buenaventura, which has a 600-meter elevation. We would spend 3 days at this comfortable eco lodge designed specifically for use by bird photographers and bird listers. Let's look at some of the birds we photographed. I use Olympus Pro cameras and lenses for my wildlife photography and 4K videography. Everything is weather sealed, which is needed for Ecuador's wet cloud forests. My camera bodies are the OMD Mark III and Mark II. My principal lenses for birds are the 40 to 150 mm f2.8 and the 300 mm f4. I frequently add on the 1.4x teleconverter and occasionally add the 2.0 teleconverter. Altogether, they provide a well-stabilized full-frame equivalent focal length range of 80 to 1200 millimeters. I found my room located in this cabin that is situated about 400 wet yards from the main lodge. night there was a thunderstorm and at dawn lots of fog, but there would be no details in the skies above the birds. We next traveled to Yorupi, which had higher elevations around 800 meters, and this presented us with more new species of birds to photograph. We spent our last 3 days near Tapichalaka. This area has much higher elevations of 2,500 meters and more. We are now in the mountain cloud forest where we hope to photograph some very hard to find birds. Here are some of them. The Jokotoko antipita was first discovered in 1997, and it is extremely uncommon and local in its distribution. It inhabits only patches of wet, mossy forests at altitudes of 7,300 to 8,800 feet in Ecuador and Peru. The Jokotoko is about 9 inches tall with a melon-shaped body above long legs with which it hops about quickly, only to freeze to look and listen for bugs and other invertebrates. Antipitas are very difficult to observe and almost impossible to photograph as they forage in dense tropical forest understories. In some locations, eco-lodges have undertaken to attract antpitas to come to small open spaces at a specific time of day in their home territories. To attract an antpita, a local guide will come to the same exact place at the same time each day and spread out some pieces of earthworms. During a half hour or so, the guide will produce low-volume whistles to signal to any nearby antpita that food is available. We found our Jokotoko in the Tapichalaka Reserve, owned by the Fundación Jokotoko, which protects a portion of the very wet temperate zone forest of Ecuador's Andes eastern slope. The bird came in response to our guide's whistled notes. The morning was foggy and misting. The light was dim under the trees, dripping with moisture. Another endangered and hard-to-find bird we were fortunate to locate in the Tapichalaka Reserve was the wattled cotinga, or umbrella bird. Like its better-known Cotinga relative, the cock of the rock, it inhabits rainforests and congregates on leks during breeding season. Its total length is 14 to 19.5 inches and is thus one of the largest of the Cotingas. The diet of the umbrella bird is composed of insects, lizards, and fruit. Umbrella birds can fly slowly for short distances. Umbrella birds are almost entirely black, and they have a large movable crest on the top of their heads that resembles an umbrella. These birds also have an inflatable wattle on the neck, which can extend to quite a length for courtship displays. The wattle's air sac also serves to amplify their distinctive calls, resembling to my ear an eerie, resonant "ooh." The umbrella bird we observed for 2 short periods over 2 rainy days was perched quite high up on the dense forest canopy. Given the many branches and the blowing leaves, it was very difficult to locate openings through which one could see the entire bird. The videos and photos I recorded were shot straight up using a 600mm lens at f4. Let's watch this umbrella bird as it waits, preens, listens, looks, and then preens some more while still waiting for another bird to come to the lek. Tinamous are a primitive group of birds that inhabit forests and woodlands in the subtropics. They are terrestrial and walk or run along the ground instead of flying. When alarmed, they freeze in place and therefore often remain undetected. The sexes are similar, but the males incubate the eggs on the nest and tend the small chicks till they become independent. The gray tinamou we observed is large, about 17 to 18 inches in body length. It is quite rare in Ecuador. We found this one in a strenuous climb in the rain up a slippery and stony mountain trail to a small open ground area at an elevation of 8,500 feet. This is thought to be rather high up for blue tinamous. Well, that's it for the birds on this trip. There were a few mammals we saw, and here they are. I very much enjoyed my time in southern Ecuador. The varied environments were both beautiful and very challenging for photography. When the rain was coming down too heavily, we were able to switch to multi-flash sessions for hummingbirds flying to nectar feeders located under a roof of a porch. To get back to Massachusetts, I took a regional jet from the south of Ecuador to Quito's main airport. I then connected to a flight to Guayaquil's International Airport, and at 9:30 p.m. I checked into a small hotel nearby. The night clerk who signed me in was wearing a mask and was acting very nervous. When I checked out at 4 a.m., the clerk was sweating, coughing, and acting very confused. Noting this, I refused his offer to carry my bag to a taxi. Since I was concerned about the pandemic's risk for air travelers, I had already participated in Copa's online upgrade lottery. Fortunately, I was able to fly business class with 2x2 seating in a separate compartment. At home 2 days later, I read articles about how Guayaquil had, almost overnight, become South America's epicenter of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now Guayaquil had bodies in the streets and its residents were fleeing the city. I was very lucky to get home when I did. I believe that it may be 2 years before I can travel internationally again.